And we start with that positive COVID-19 test for Governor DeWine. He spoke to the state just an hour ago. 5 on Your Side investigator Scott Knoll has been digging into this since the news of the positive test first broke. Live with more on how the governor is doing. Scott.
Frank, so far, Governor Mike DeWine says he's feeling good. Had no idea he was infected until that positive test here in Cleveland this morning. DeWine was tested ahead of his planned trip to Burke Lakefront Airport to greet President Donald Trump this afternoon. But DeWine says once at the airport, he got the news. The 73-year-old tested positive for COVID-19. Speaking from the front porch of his home in Cedarville, where he's quarantining, DeWine called the news a big surprise. He then headed to Columbus, where he, the First Lady, and the governor's staff who've had close contact with DeWine were all tested. So far, the governor says he hasn't received the results of that second test. He says he plans to continue leading the state from his home while he quarantines. In fact, he says other than his coronavirus briefings, he's largely been working from home since the pandemic began. He also took the opportunity to once again defend the use of masks. DeWine, of course, drew criticism from some after making wearing a mask mandatory in Ohio last month.
The lesson should come from this is that we're all human. This virus is everywhere. This virus is very tough. And yes, you can contract it even when you're being very, very careful and even when you're wearing a mask. But your odds are just dramatically better. And my odds obviously, weren't good that day that I contracted it.
DeWine says he has no idea where he contracted the virus. I talked with Dr. Dan Rhodes, head of microbiology at the Cleveland Clinic this afternoon. I asked him about the fact DeWine wasn't experiencing any symptoms. He said while that's always good news, doctors will likely now try to figure out where the governor is in his fight against the virus.
That's the question that always comes up. Well, is this early in disease and the person just hasn't developed symptoms yet, or are they never going to develop symptoms?
Dr. Rhodes says that's usually a case of wait and see. Now, of course, the governor's age does make him more at risk for complications from COVID-19. DeWine also revealed this afternoon that he suffered from asthma since he was a teenager and often uses an inhaler a couple of times a day. But so far, other than a headache, which DeWine says is pretty common, the governor says he's feeling fine. Reporting live, I'm 5 on Your Side investigator Scott Knoll.